Hello and welcome to the series of RapidMiner videos. My name is Dr. Marcus Hoffman and I'm a lecturer at the Institute of Technology Blanchardstown and also the principal investigator of this project funded by the Irish National Digital Learning Repository. The series of RapidMiner videos was created in close collaboration with Ralph Klinkenberg and Dr. Ingo Merswa, the two founding members of RapidMiner. More videos as well as additional material to some videos can be found at www.rapidminerresources.com. I would now like to introduce Ralph Klinkenberg, who will talk you through this tutorial.
Welcome to the open source data mining software RapidMiner 5. In this short introductory video, we would like to present some additional features of the graphical user interface and show how to design a data mining process for automatically generating a decision tree for automated classification from training examples, how to use breakpoints to inspect intermediate results, and how to visualize data and results in 2- and 3-dimensional diagrams. So let's start with a new process. Let's read in a dataset from a flat file in the WCA format called arv. So we select import data, read arv, drag and drop the operator into the main process window. We then add a modeling technique for classification, mainly a decision tree. Drag and drop that on top of the connection between the dataset and the results. And now we have a two-step process for first loading in a dataset and then automatically generating a decision tree from that dataset. There are still two error messages, indicated by the two red lights here and by the two messages down here. The first one is about the parameterization of the reading operator. We have to specify what file to read the data from. You can either enter the file name directly here or use the file browser or double click on the suggested quick fix and enter the file name here. So we select the data directory that we would like to use and the data file, open that file. So this problem is solved. The light has changed to yellow and there's only one red light left. That is one error message telling me that I have to specify which variable or attribute within the dataset is my target variable or my so-called label attribute. Since I don't know the dataset well enough yet, I want to place a breakpoint after that step in the process. So I right-click the mouse, select breakpoint after, and press the run button. I don't want to start the process yet. So now I see the intermediate result. I see the dataset that has been loaded. And I see that there's a variable called class with three possible values, one called iris setosa, iris vesicular, and iris virginica. This is actually my label attribute with three different classes with 58 training examples each. So a total of 150 examples. So I change back to the process design view, stop the process, go to my read arv operator and specify the label attribute to be the class variable. Then I run the process again. And now I can see that I have the attribute class marked as a label attribute. So this is now my target variable. And going back to the process design view, I see that the first step has been successfully executed. I'm still waiting for the second one to be executed. So I can look at the data in the metadata view where I see the names of the attributes and their value types, average values and standard deviations, as well as most frequent values, value ranges, and so on. I can look at the data table itself in the data view, and I can look at the plot view. For example, if I select a scatter plot and select two of the four variables as the 2 dimensions and the class variable for the coloring, I can now see that I have a 3-class problem and that the 3 classes can be quite well separated. There's a little overlap in the green and red classes, the iris vesicular and the iris virginica, but especially the iris setosa can very well be separated. Can do a similar plot in 3 dimensions. Select the 3rd dimension and look at the data in 3 dimensions to see how well the data can be separated. If I don't know which dimensions to look at in a scatter plot, I can use a scatter matrix to see all pairs of variables. And for example, I would see that sepal lengths and sepal widths together don't help very much to separate the green and the red data points, while the combination of petal widths and petal lengths helps to separate quite well. And that's actually why I had selected these dimensions before. If I have many attributes, a parallel plot can also help to visualize the data and to see what features are separating well. Each attribute has its own vertical line, and now each example in the data table connects the corresponding attribute values. So the first value of the first attribute is connected to the value for the second attribute for that example, and so on. So each line corresponds to one example. And I can see that some attributes do not separate well, while others do separate quite well. So attributes 3 and 4 in that case are better separators than 1 and 2, and that's why I selected them in the first scatter plot. A similar plot is the deviation plot, where you see the averages of the three classes. So the strong line in the color corresponds to the average of the particular class, and the lighter colored area around it corresponds to the standard deviation. And again, I can see that petal lengths and petal widths are good separators, while sepal lengths and sepal widths are not so good separators. Okay, so that much about the visualization of the data. Let's now continue the process after the breakpoint. So now we have a decision tree that has been generated. We can zoom with the scroll wheel of the mouse or using the buttons here. And you can see that the automated classification model generated from the dataset now suggests some attribute tests allowing to automatically separate new cases of that kind of data. The most important attribute and the first test to be performed is at the top, and you can follow down the passes for particular tests depending on the case that you're observing. So if the petal length is below 24.5, the example can be classified as iris setosa. In the training case, there were 50 such cases and no other cases with such a small measurement. If the measurement is larger than 24.5, we need to do another test. And if petal length is greater than 1.5, we have a class of Virginica. In the training, 34 cases were covered here. And the coloring indicates a class. Here it's red for Virginica, blue for Setosa, and there's a pure color, so there's a pure classification. In other cases, the coloring may be mixed. That means there are several classes covered. In that case, 50 cases of versicular and 8 cases of Virginica. So this is no perfect classification, but only an approximate classification in that particular path of the tree. Also, the width of the bar indicates how many cases are covered. So this is a much smaller bar that indicates, in this case, only 8 cases are covered. So now we generated a classification model. We can store that model to the repository by clicking here, selecting the repository, and for example saying, I would like to save my decision tree. Same way I could go back and look at the process. Now I see that the indicator lights have changed to green, and the problems have been solved. Let's just also save the process. Also save it to the repository. Call the process learn decision tree. So now we saw how to build a decision tree automatically from a dataset, how to use breakpoints to inspect intermediate results, and how to visualize data and the result, in that case a decision tree. Thank you very much for your attention.
For further information on RapidMiner, please go to www.rapidminerresources.com or www.rapid-i.com. If you are interested in upskilling, please go to www.itb.ie, where you will find more information about our distance learning MSc in computing science, in business intelligence and data mining. Many thanks to the Irish National Digital Learning Repository for funding this video.